Grab your big book, your pen, your highlighter, and notepad and get ready to hear and apply some of the solution from the Big Book of Alcoholics Anonymous through the experience, strength, and hope of Nikki M. To have a question addressed in a future episode of Noodle It Out with Nikki, please send an email to noodlewithnikki@gmail.com, and Nikki is spelled with 2 Ks. To get a more interactive experience with Nikki as she noodles out life and recovery questions using the Big Book of Alcoholics Anonymous, you can get a link to her weekly Noodle It Out with Nikki meeting held live on Zoom every Monday morning at 9 o'clock Eastern Time. The information to that meeting is in the show notes of this podcast. This week we continue our 4-week series of the 12 Steps in 4 Hours Big Book Sponsorship Workshop that Nikki is hosting and holding over Zoom in Egypt. And super excited about this. Keep coming back to it. If you did not listen to last week's episode and print out a workbook and follow along and get to that, I would highly recommend you go back and listen to last week's before coming into this week's. Covered the first couple of steps last week. We'll take the next few steps this week, and then we move on in the next few weeks. This is good stuff, so grab your workbook, your big book, a pen, a highlighter, and let's dive into this. Here we go.
Okay, thank you so much. Hi, everyone. We're in Egypt. I'm Nikki M., a grateful member, and we're recording this, so if you didn't catch us live. So what we're doing today is we're going to pick up. Last time we were together, Ahmed said that we are in a big book sponsorship workbook guide. That can be found. There's going to be show notes. There's going to be a link to where you get it. And a lot of you are already sponsoring out of there or out of this workbook, which is the Big Book of Alcoholics Anonymous, 4th edition. We have a guy in Toronto, my sponsor, Cameron F. Big Book Sponsorship is the website. He has a workbook and it's condensed 30 pages. What we're going to do, exactly, we're going to learn to be a sponsor. I'm just collecting my thoughts here. I'm trying to remember where we left off. We left off on step 2 last week. Now, you and your sponsor are meeting right now. You have an appointment booked. That's what we do. We book appointments. You must have a Big Book of Alcoholics Anonymous, 4th edition. You must have your workbook printed. A lot of people want to do it off a PDF, off the computer. How are you going to take notes? Now, I know some of you are super smart and you can take notes on your pad with all that good stuff. Then fine. If that works for you, modern people, I have it printed with a pen and a paper to write notes. Now, what do I do right away? This is the second session, say with your sponsee. I'm not even going to, how are you? I don't want to get into it because you're probably not that well. We are just getting into step 3. You're not working your 12 steps. So why even get into all of that? I do like to recap. So we're going to recap real quick. And this is how I recap with my sponsees before we jump into the next step. We're all jumping into step 3 on page 10. But I go back to page 3 of the workbook and recap. And I say like this, I'm going to role play, and not the role play I used to do in my old addict life. Okay. We won't get into that stuff. We're talking about the spearhead role play that we do as servants of God. Here it is. Sponsee. I'm going to be the sponsor and the sponsee. Open to page 3. We're going to recap real quick. What'd you learn on page 3? Sponsee. Well, Nikki, I learned that I have more than just a whatever your problem is. I have more than just a love problem, a sex problem, an alcohol problem. I have a life problem. Remember that top paragraph, alcoholism. Well, what did you learn? Well, Nikki, I learned that half measures avail me nothing. No, that's not on that page. And we only speak Big Book. So what did you learn according to the Big Book on page 3? Well, Nikki, I learned that I played a vital part in your recovery. Oh, that's in there. Yeah. I learned that I have to help others. Great. Move on. What did you learn on page 4, new sponsee? Well, I learned that I'm powerless over my thinking and my alcoholism. Nope. You've been saying that for 4 years in the rooms. That's just reading a step. What did you learn through the Big Book? And speak only Big Book, not your notes. Well, I learned that I can't differentiate the true from the false, Nikki. I learned that my addict life is my only normal one, and I learned that I'm sick. Great. Page 5. What did you learn? I learned that I'm beyond human aid. I checked off every single thing on my log list, which is my failed strategies to stay sober permanently. Okay, everything. Well, a sponsor, I'm just little old codependent. I've never been to a rehab. No, you've been to a spa and a million vacations. Check it off. Remember, we went through that. What did you learn on page 5? Well, I learned that when I honestly want to quit, this is why I qualify to chair this meeting. When I honestly want to quit, I can't. And I can't control the amount of anything I take. So I'm suffering an illness that only a spiritual experience every day will conquer. Great. What did you learn on page 6? New sponsee. I learned that our behavior patterns vary. My sponsor is a slamming cocaine, bourbon drinking addict. I like to snort men and money, but we suffer the same. How about this? I have to smash the idea. You only want your sponsee to recap one sentence off each page because you don't want to spend too much time here because I got to get you through the steps and we only have 2 hours. Page 7. I learned that I need to be properly armed with the facts about myself. Oh, and here it is, that half measures avail me nothing. Okay. What'd you learn on page 8, Nikki? Well, I learned that I want the whole world to be desperate. Otherwise, I'm wasting my time trying to persuade people, not just in sponsorship, but my son, my friends, my coworkers. Just leave it alone, Nikki. Oh, and I also learned that we need to make the approach. Doesn't say raise your hand. What did you learn on page 9, step 2? Here it is. I learned, sponsor, that I find God deep down inside of me, not inside his pants, not inside the bottle, not inside a baggie, and not inside a bank account. That's what I learned. I learned that I'm going to search diligently within myself every day. There we go. That's a great recap. There we go. See, you need to make sure your sponsee is speaking big book, that they can recap, that they are knowing what we're doing so we can launch into step 3 and 4. Here we go. We are now in the big book sponsorship workbook. We are on page 10, step 3. Real quick. Everybody gets together in Nikki's committee in my head and says, Nikki, you are ruining your life. You are going to die by the time you're 55 because you're going to kill yourself or kill someone else. Okay, that was 45. That was years ago. Here it is. I have to fire Nikki and hire God. Everyone write that at the top of your page. Fire Nikki, hire God. God is going to be the director of the show, my life, my thoughts, my new beliefs, everything. God will direct everything. Okay, step 3, we make a decision every day to turn our will. What's our will? Put your initials there. NM's thinkings and our life. What's that? NM, that's me, Nikki M, my actions. See, I'm turning over my thinking and my actions to the care of God. Oh, I hate God. Remember? Deep down inside, your own conception, loving, powerful is how it was described as we understood God. Here it is. We claim spiritual progress. I don't even look at the rest of that sentence. Make sure your sponsees are not looking at the word perfection. Only God is perfect. R, put your initials there. We're in the workbook, step 3, page 10. And this is all in the big book. Make sure you highlight and find these passages in your big book and muck them up. So when you're in a meeting, you are armed with the facts and you know these passages. Our description of the alcoholic, of the addict, our personal adventures before and after the first thought, first drink, first act. Make clear 3 pertinent ideas. A, that Nikki is an addict and cannot manage my life based on my loser list, on all the things I've lost, on my unmanageability. Is this you? Yes. I can't manage my life. Yes. That no. If you hear me sponsor you sometimes, I won't even put that word probably. That no human power can relieve my alcoholism, my disease of self. Are you, based on your human aid list, your log list, are you beyond human aid? Yes. C, that God could and would, God will, could and would, if you seek it, that God will if you sought it, okay? If we seek this. Are you willing to believe? Yes. Remember, we answer with a solid yes or no. Being convinced. Are you convinced? Sponsees, are you convinced of A, B, and C? Get your sponsee to put a big, I've heard hell yes. I've heard a big F yes. I've heard a big scream, yes. You better be convinced. Then we're at step 3, which is that Nikki, I'm using my example, make sure your sponsee puts their name in there. Nikki decided to turn our will, which is Nikki's, NM's thinking, my life, NM's actions over to God, over to this power. No one's looking for God. Put power. Cross out. My first workbook with Cameron, December 16th, 2016. It's now November 11th, 2024, my first workbook. I crossed out the word God and put power. I hated God. Now I have it tattooed on my neck. Things change. We change. You're going to turn everything over to this power as you understand this power. Just what do we mean? What do we do? Here it is. The first requirement is that NM be convinced. See, I have to be convinced, which again, a lot of people, English is not your first language. You need to Google it in your language. What does that mean? It means 100% sure, without a doubt, that any life, see, it doesn't say just Nikki's life. It doesn't just say Habibi's life here. It doesn't just say Liza. It says any life run on self-will, any life run on self-will can hardly be a success. See, don't forget that. That's on page 60 of your big book. This is in our workbook right now. Based on your log and loser list, are you convinced that your life, but I like to go deeper with my sponsee, that any life run on self-will can hardly be a success? Yes, Nikki. If you believe that, then why are you complaining? You know your son, you know your daughter, you know your prime minister, you know the world is run on self-will. It's not going to be successful. You see how simple this is? Just look at people and you will notice that their life is run on self-will and it will never be a success. Good. Here it is. And I get a lot of calls. Nikki, I know what my problem is. Don't let your sponsee take you hostage. You've read the book. Don't let them tell you their problem is their government, the color of their skin, their mosque, their synagogue, their church. The problem is you're selfish and self-centered. Full stop. Full stop. You are selfish and self-centered. Be mindful, everybody, of where you are at all times. Okay, this is serious stuff. Someone on here is dying. You're listening to this at a later time and you're dying, or you want to know how to become a more effective sponsor because that's the only way out of the hole. You're selfish and self-centered. That we think I know is the root of my trouble. See, the root of my trouble, ACA, is not your alcoholic parents. It's you. Full stop. Driven. This is what drives you. You're driven by 100 forms of fear, comma, 100 forms of self-delusion, comma, 100 forms of self-seeking and self-pity. That is 400 forms of madness. And then Nikki, I step on the toes of my fellows, of my family, of my citizens of the world, and they retaliate. Sometimes I don't even see them retaliating. It will just be a look. You guys ever seen the look of disgust people give you? And you think, why are they looking at me like that? It's because you've stepped on the toes of people and you don't even know it. Remember, your addict life is your only normal one. Next sentence. Sometimes they, who's they? The world, the fellows hurt us seemingly. Fake news, without provocation, without being provoked. But we do provoke it in our selfishness because we're driven by 400 forms of madness. But we, that's Nikki, invariably find that at some point in the past, at some point in Nikki's past, Nikki makes decisions based on self, based on Nikki, on what Nikki wants that later places me in a position to be hurt. How about destroyed? See, I took a man and said, I need a husband and a baby. Oh, I made a decision based on what I wanted in that moment. I threw them both out a year later. Like, this is serious stuff here. You making a decision in this moment about what you want, you cheating on your partner because you want that in this moment, that's going to later place you in a position to be destroyed. Hello? Wake your sponsees up. In that blank space, put your initials. Nikki, NM is responsible for her illness and for her recovery. Nikki, I've been raped as a child. We're not going there yet, and we're not there yet. So stay attention to this page. Make sense? You're going to sponsor. He's going to Balk. Don't let anyone balk at you or let them go and die. They'll come back for more. Here it is. So Nikki's troubles, we think, I know, are basically of my own making. See, I make my problems. What's they? My troubles arise out of Nikki, out of myself. And the addict, Nikki, is an extreme example of self-will run riot. Self-will run riot, though Nikki, does not think so. My line out says, Nikki loves to blame others. See, I'm an example of self-will run riot, but I don't think so. You did it to me. You did it to me, baby daddy number 2. No, Nikki, you picked him. You took him hostage. Now deal with it. You guys blaming people like me? You love to blame. My wife does this. No, she doesn't. You did it. Wake yourself up and wake your sponsees up. Above everything, we addicts must rid selfishness. It doesn't say rid your mistress. It doesn't say rid your alcohol, and you will never rid your selfishness if you're doing those things. It says you must rid selfishness. We must, or it kills us. There it is. You're going to die. Nikki said, I'm going to die. The book said you're going to die. Your selfishness is killing you. God, the spiritual principles, this power makes it possible. Makes what possible? Ridding your selfishness. There is no way of entirely getting rid of self without God's aid. See your log and loser list. You're beyond human aid. Right? Or what? You're going to throw away your wife and get a new one? Good luck with that one, people. I tried that one. I threw away baby daddy number 1, got baby daddy number 2. Nope, it was all me. And here I am alone. You see? Wake yourself up. Okay. Many of us had moral and philosophical convictions galore. Here's where you go with your sponsee. Maybe someone wants to unmute and tell me. Maybe someone doesn't. My moral and philosophical convictions galore. I will never be with a man who hits me. I judge weak women who get hit by their partners. When my alcoholic perforated, blew out my eardrum in a drunken rage, I begged him to take me back. Moral and philosophical convictions galore. I'll give you one more. I will never choose drugs over my children. Oh, but Nikki, you gave up crystal meth. Does it matter what drug it is? You waking up here? Share it with your sponsee. We don't need to get into a cry fest. What thing did you say, sponsee, that you would never do? Oh, you said you'd never cheat on your wife? You said you'd never steal from your work? You said you'd never take from grandma, but you stole her wedding ring and it's gone on your crack habit, on your mistress, on your gambling addiction. Oh, that's right. My gambler said he'd never take from his kids, broke open the piggy bank. Boom, took the change. Moral and philosophical convictions galore. That's all I do. That's all you need to know. See, we're getting to know each other. And that's about it. Remember, up till now, I'm not having any conversation with my sponsees because I've read this book. They may be reading, I may be reading, and never let your sponsee just keep reading. Stop at the commas and the periods and talk about it. Otherwise, you're just reading and talking. Here it is. But we cannot live up to them, even though I'd like to. Yeah, I want to live up to that. I wanted to be that superwoman who never put up with a man's shit. I wanted to be that mother who never, ever. Anyway, I'm not going to drift too far out because this is where I drift out and start crying. But the book says neither could Nikki reduce her self-centeredness by wishing. Take off your diaper. This isn't Disneyland, fairyland. This is not wishing. I wish. This isn't, no. Get real. Get into the reality. Because wishing is a log and your own power. Line out. Nikki is a log. I can't help myself. I am useless. I have to have God's help. And then ask your sponsee, can you teach this page? And if they're like my friends on here, they're going to say, yep, I certainly can. Or they may say, no, Nikki, what do you mean by this? And I'll say, let's talk about it. Because you have, and I'll look at my sponsee and I'll say, I don't care if you get better. And they'll go like, what? And I'll say, I care if you teach this, because if you teach this, you will get better. It's just a guarantee. And I can't do this, Nikki. Well, you know what? The first day when you were on your job as an electrician, as a bartender, my first day as a stripper, I wasn't good. But by the end of that time, wow, I could work a pole. Okay. It just doesn't happen overnight, everybody. I wasn't a good mom I'm a good mom now. Practice. Okay, here we go. We are on page 11. Remember, we fired Nikki, we fired the liar, the ego, and we hire God. Here it is, page 11. You can teach that. Page 10, we're on belief. And look at how quick we are. We're 21 minutes into our session, our 2-hour session with our sponsee. And we're not just sitting here jerking off with our problems in a cry fest. We're getting work done. You're armed with the facts that you're selfish and that you did this all to yourself and that you're beyond human aid. Let's go. Belief. This is all what this is in. Step 2, belief in this power that's loving and all powerful. Remember, you're supposed to sweep away your prejudice, plus enough willingness. We talked about willingness, honesty, and humility to establish and maintain the new order of things. If you are listening to this podcast in 2030, we're not talking about the new world order. We are talking about the new order of living for love. Hey, it's radical here. You're either in faith or fear. Okay, the new order of things, new belief system were the essential requirements. See, this is simple. Everybody stop complicating it, but not easy. Simple, not easy. Here it is. A price must be paid. I'm just going to go deep. Destruction of self. I don't think they talk about that in the rooms enough. Just quit drinking, come back. Don't call him, get a dating plan, stop eating the sugar. It says destruction of self. God is doing for me. Destruction of self, not easy, simple. And you're not alone if you're listening to this going, what are these people talking about? Or just go back out to your life of suffering. We'll be here waiting. This is the how and the why of it. I'm right back. And anytime I drift with my sponsees, make sure your sponsees know, keep your eyes on that workbook because I'm right back in here. Now, was I like this at first? No. 8 years ago, I could barely form a sentence. 8 years later, I don't even need to look at my workbook. Cameron doesn't need to either. He's the one who made it. Becomes a working part of your mind. Second paragraph, page 11. This is the how and the why of it. First, quit playing God. Oh, let's see. Now, I have my sponsor, Cameron's workbook. He put 26 years. So 26 years he was playing God. That means in your addiction. Me, yeah, I got a good 20 years of in my addiction. It didn't work. Would you agree? Yeah, Nikki, it doesn't work. So what do I have to do next? Nikki, we, put your initials there, decided that hereafter in this drama of life, 26 years, says Cameron, 20 years, says Nikki, 20 years, God is going to be your director. Yes, it's that simple. God is the principal. You are its agent. Full stop. In the big book, it also says he is the father. We are the children. See, that might be too hard. That's why Cameron adjusted this a little bit to make it acceptable for, because a lot of people hate God. That male hate is on, but through sponsoring men, I love you guys again. That's what sponsoring does. I really love you guys again. That's what sponsoring does. God is the principal. We're an agent. Most ideas are simple. This concept, what concept, Nikki? Quit playing God, deciding that God's going to direct you and be the principal and the father is the keystone to the new and triumphant arc through which we pass to freedom. And that was described. The keystone is a thing in the middle of an archway that holds the other sides together. If you don't have it, it all comes crumbling down. Okay, here we go. Step 3 promises. This is your paycheck. See, in a half hour, we're going to be done this because it's already 25 minutes. We're going to be done. And then we're going to launch into step 4. That's why I always watch your time. Don't drift into your sponsees' madness because they're driven by 100 forms of self-delusion. I'm not going to listen to you, crazy. Full stop. Here it goes. This is your paycheck, but you have to sincerely, when you sincerely take such a position, you have to take this position. What position? God's business, not Nikki's business. It says remarkable things follow. That's a miracle. You're going to have a new employer. Here's how they describe your new employer. all powerful. God, this power will provide what you need. But I need more money. But I need a husband. But I need a wife. I need kids. No, God will provide what you need. Here's a caveat. If you keep close to the power. And here it is, perfectionist. You have to perform this work well. Remember, Habibi, I worked with you and you're a tennis player. And I said, the first day you played tennis, I bet you weren't that good, but you're pretty good now. I mean, I know that about you. See, you perform this work well. You don't do it perfect. See, we're going to be established on such a footing. What footing? God's business, not Nikki's business. Here it is. You're going to become less and less interested in yourself and your own little plans and designs. I need a dating plan, says SLAA, says codependence. I need a food plan, says FA, Overeaters Anonymous. That's not what my book says. It says your job is to be helpful. So is it helpful to put that stuff in your mouth or in your orifice? No. See, we're only to be little interested in your own little plans and designs, my own little plans and designs. What's going to happen? God, what do I do? Make your bed. That's simple. That's simple with your sponsee. They don't know how to live. What am I going to do? Make your bed. What am I going to do? Go to that meeting, work your step work, and then we'll talk more and more. Just baby steps for these people. They're dying. And everybody here is dying. We need to be here and be in this work. Why? Because we're going to be more and more interested in seeing what we can contribute to life. You know, Habibi, I didn't want to do this. You literally like, come on, come to Egypt, do this. I'm like, I'm too busy. If people want, they like, no, and I'm here. Because I become more and more interested in what I can contribute to life. See, what's going to happen is we're going to feel new power flow in. Yep, that happens. We're going to enjoy peace of mind. But what about the $1 million? What about my new children? What about the house and the Ferrari and the Bugatti? Don't you want peace of mind? Because you had all that and you were going to kill yourself. You had all that, madam, sir. You see? Goes deep. It says we got to be interested in what we can contribute to life. New power, peace of mind. Discover that you can face life successfully. Yep. You're going to become conscious of God's presence. What does that mean? You're going to live in the now. You're not going to live in yesteryears, and you're not going to live in tomorrow. This, as I've said it, if you know, we have a Monday morning meeting, and I say we because it's all of our meetings. We don't even have a business meeting because we just run it according to the big book. And here it is. Yeah, God's presence. It's the most radical mindfulness course you'll ever take. Living here and now is where you find God. And then we begin to lose our fears. Everybody, full stop, fear. You're going to lose your fears. You can read today, tomorrow, the hereafter. And I've gone deep. I did a podcast just called Reborn. It's all over Rico 12. And I talked about the birthing process. And it's not easy. If you haven't given birth, just watch it. And if you've given birth, you know it's not easy. This is not easy. Or watch a caterpillar liquefy to become a butterfly. The process is not easy. Reborn. So we're going to think well before we take this step, making sure you're ready that you could abandon. It doesn't say surrender, NA, my narcotic anonymous friends. That's a different book. Al-Anon, that's a different book. Abandon yourself. This is radical. Most won't make it. I barely do. Abandon yourself utterly. What's utterly? No half measures. NHM to this power. Yes. Here it is. This is your purpose. If you woke up and go, why am I here? Why do I exist? I thought I was supposed to be Oprah and Madonna. I thought I was supposed to be Elon Musk no, you're just to be of maximum service to God and the people about us. Here it is. I don't know how you say it in Arabic. It's in English. It's called a servant. It's called a servant. You're a servant. It's really radical stuff here, you guys. I see you smiling at that. You know, finally, I have a friend on here. If you're listening at a later date, she came in crazy and she's finally decades in the room knowing servant. That's it. Nothing more, nothing less. That's what we're to do. So here we go. See, and it's a decision to be a member. Are you every day making a decision to be a member of this program? Are you making a decision to be a servant of God, wanting nothing in return? Or are you serving the people around you so you can feel better? This is radical. I need to be here. I need this every day. This is why I'm beyond human aid, and only being in this work is going to make me remember who I am, why I exist. That's right, Nikki. You came to Earth School to remember that you're a servant of God. That's it. I got distracted by the men and the money. They're so awesome. Men don't know how wonderful they are, just like we ladies don't know how wonderful we are. Okay, let's get through this. We're now at step 3. Many of us said to our maker, your mom and your daddy, they just hosted you. Someone dropped an egg like a chicken. Someone dropped a sperm. But someone created you through a thought process. The universe. This is radical. Your maker, as we, you get to pick your own God here. You get to pick your own God. So radical. Because the one I found in my church, the one my great grandmother's, my city, okay, she's from Lebanon, Syria region, and their God didn't work for them. This is radical. This is beyond human aid. You get to pick your own God. Let's say this prayer, and I'm going to go through it real quick and slow. And if you have your workbook open, page 11, we're on. But I'm going to look at page 18. Sponsy, you're new. I'm going to give you my idea of God, and I'm going to read this to you. Remember, my sponsy's just withdrawn. He's lost his home. She's lost her husband. They can't stop. They are dying physically, mentally, and spiritually. They don't have an idea of God. They hate themselves and their life. I'm going to give you a concept. So we are looking at page 11 on your workbook, and we're looking at page 18, column 4, self-will, your liabilities, blocks, and defects. We're not going to look at that. That's not God. We're going to look at God's will. Page 18, column 5. Okay, power, the spiritual principles. God, spiritual principles, humility, respectfulness, polite, generosity, intimacy, patience, responsibility, love, kindness. I'm going to offer myself to thee. To build with me. I need you to build these things with me. Humility, politeness, unselfishness, honesty, acceptance, love, activeness, zeal, faith, and do with me. I want you to do all those things with me. See, that's God. That's God in action. I want you to relieve me. See, your sponsee doesn't know what they're being relieved of. Relieve me of the bondage of self. Here it is, sponsee. Your inventory's done. This is your bondage of self. Your false pride, your arrogance, your rudeness, your suspicion, Nikki, your envy. You envy everyone. Your selfishness, your self-seeking, your dishonesty, Nikki, your intolerance, your greed, your lust, your hate, your procrastination, your fear, your irresponsible, your martyring, your gossip, and your slander. That's what we're going to remove. That's your bondage of self so that you can better do God's will. See, your sponsee doesn't understand this. We show them what it means here. Take them to page 18 while you're reading this prayer. Take away my difficulties. It's not the alcohol. It's not your husband that just cheated on you with the horse trainer. This is what it is, sir and madam. It is your selfishness that's your difficulty. It's your lust. It's your bottom line hate and your gossip and your self-loathing. This goes deep. That's what you want so you can have victory over this ugliness, right? You can have victory over them and you can bear witness. You can be a walking big book, a walking billboard for this power of love, restitution, accountability. See, that's what we're doing here. That's what you're going to do, this way of life. This is a way of life. So if you're in here and you just think you're going to come in here and soul suck the rest of us, if you're hanging out with me, you're not. I'm not listening to you and your addict life, and you can't differentiate between the true and the false. Instructions every morning. Are you willing to do this? What's God's will for you? Meditate on it. Just look at that. How can a newcomer even know what God's will is if they haven't worked a 4-step? This is real hard to do. Get them in there. Give them the inventory. Everybody knows the 7 deadly sins. Get them in there. Okay. I'll just look at some of you. Can we teach this page? Can we teach? Yeah. Okay. There. I see you, Rachel. Thank you. Yeah. We can teach this page and we can move on. That's what you want to ask your sponsee. I went a little over. It usually takes a half hour to do this. If you have a new sponsee, do not leave them here. Look at step 4, page 12. You may have a dry drunk that has been sober for 12 years and wants a new method for sponsoring. You could leave them here and get back to it the next day. But if you're going to leave somebody who wants to pick up the phone and call the dealer, call their ex, you understand, or call the suicide line, you better launch them, because here's what it is. Step 4, made a searching and fearless, we're on page 12 of our workbook, made a searching and fearless moral. Moral is why you did it, not what you did. I don't care that you slept with your mother's brother's donkey's best friend. I don't care about these things. I want to know why you did it, not what you did. So we're going to do a moral inventory of ourselves. See, Nikki M has to put her name there because Nikki's busy taking a moral inventory of all my exes, all my current people, my mother, my government, your government, says of ourself. Getting right with myself. This is a step 4 here. Next, see, you've got to launch. I'm working on my step 3, says the sponsee. It's a decision to be a member and to live for God, to live for love. That's simple. So we're going to launch into a course of vigorous action. Google the words if you don't know what they mean. The first step of which is a personal Nikki's house cleaning. I'm always trying to clean up my government. And I don't have a government position anymore. I had one before COVID. I lost my job. Here we go, which many of us have never attempted. Though Nikki's decision, step 3, it's a vital and crucial step. Here it is. What's it? My step 3 decision could have little permanent effect unless at once, which is fast. That's why you got to work the steps fast, followed by a strenuous effort to face and rid the things in myself, in me, that have been blocking me from God. See, this is what it is. What is blocking you from God? Our liquor, our drugs, the men, the money, the food, the scrolling. It's just a symptom. Your obsessive, compulsive ways of living is just a symptom. I've got obsessive compulsive disorder. No, you don't. You've got the disease of alcoholism. No pill or doctor is going to help you. You better get to God, Nikki, because those are just symptoms. We have to get down to causes and conditions. What is causing this? See, it's my 400 forms of madness, not my boyfriend, not my black skin, not my curly hair. You awake? Therefore, we're going to start a personal inventory. There it is again. I've been taking my government's inventory since COVID, and I have not stopped one day. This is step 4. Nikki needs to take stock honestly. We took stock honestly. First, we searched out the flaws in my makeup. I'm busy taking the flaws in everyone else's makeup. Is anyone else doing that? You're busy looking at everybody else? This is every day. This is not just an instruction for today. This is an everyday instruction, my people. Every day you do this. You search for the flaws in your makeup, which cause your failures. Being convinced, there's that word again, 100% convinced without a doubt that self manifests in various ways was what defeated us, defeats Nikki. So now we're going to consider the common manifestations of self. And again, if this workbook and this way of living is helping you, message Cameron F. It will be a bright spot in his day because he's done all the work for us. Number 1, manifestation. This is it. Resentment is the number 1 offender. What do you mean? Not baby daddy number 1 or 2 or my dad that I didn't meet till I was 18? No. Resentment. That is the number 1 offender. Not the alcohol, not the fentanyl, your resentment. Refeeling over and over will destroy more addicts than anything else. From it. From what? From the resentment stems all all forms of spiritual disease. Remember, remind your sponsee, you're suffering a spiritual illness. So go back to your rehab. It's not going to work. You're beyond human aid. If you need to separate from alcohol, fine, go. But once you're separated from your drug of non-choice, I don't care what it is, you are only going to get better. Why? For we have not only been mentally and physically ill, Nikki, I've been spiritually sick. Why are you going to a doctor for spiritual wellness? Why am I going to try and find someone's husband to make me feel better? I used to do that. I can smile about it now, but I had many wives and husbands and me on my porch dying and crying in my disease. This is what we do, destroying people. Radical stuff. If anybody's just joining us, we are on page 12. And now we're going to look at this, the chart. There's a chart on page 12. The object of this game is I'm not going to go through it. You want to check everything off. And I love what Cameron's done here. It says it right here. He has taken the causes and condition, defects of character, shortcoming, flaws in their makeup, root of our troubles, bondage of self, cited in the big book. From pages XXV to page 164, he has taken all the defects of character and put it in this chart. Now, Cameron didn't check off everything. Lucky he's not my sponsee, because he didn't check off jealousy or envy, but he checked off selfishness and suspicion. Well, if you're suspicious, you're jealous in something, you're wanting something, you're envying something, you're coveting. It's just a play. He didn't check off vanity, but he checked off pride and egotistical. Make it make sense, Cameron. I want him to call me and make this make sense. Seriously. He checked off impatient, but didn't check off lethargy. If you're lethargic, you're impatient. He didn't check off cowardice. This blows my mind. And you guys help me make sense of this later. He didn't check off coward, but he checked off fear and worry. Sir, if you're in fear and worry, you are, I don't want to swear, you're an effing coward. So the object of this game is to get them to check off everything. You understand, like, what if he didn't check off irresponsible? Don't you see that being inconsiderate, hateful, loathing, being scraping and stubborn and obstinate, which is inflexible, is irresponsible? He says he's not fanatical. He's been my neighbor for 20 years. We've talked politics. He gets fanatical. Anyway, another subject for another day, okay? Here we are. Object of this game, check off everything, madam, sir. If you're one of them, you're all of them. Go. There it is. Now, we're on the bottom paragraph of page 12, as everyone can, and I keep asking my sponsee, if my sponsee is brand new, go through it. And if they're like my Habibi speaking 2 languages, I'm not going to stay on the phone while you Google what these words mean in English, because you have master command of Arabic. So I want you to Google all these words in Arabic later, not on my time. I need to get you through the steps, because you're going to pick up a thought that's going to destroy you and your family. Let's get in here. Here's a big promise. When the spiritual malady is overcome, we straighten out mentally and physically. That's a promise. That's the biggest promise for those who are obsessed with self. Because like I said, I'm a retired burlesque entertainer. Oh, I've gone on yo-yo diets. I've gone everything, every type of doctor, read every kind of book. This is not anything you can get at a gym or in a doctor's office. This is a spiritual malady. And when it's overcome, then you straighten out spiritually or mentally and physically. You will never straighten out physically or mentally until the spiritual malady is overcome. I've never felt better, and I'm 51. Okay, there you go. That's Nikki M. Addicts, alcoholics, or sensitive people. That's a big yes. I'm so sensitive. Yeah, that's right. It takes some of us a long time to outgrow that serious handicap. See, it's a handicap, and I'll stop here with my sponsees. What do you think is a handicap? No eyes, no legs, confined to bed. The big book's calling sensitive people just like that. We have no eyes, no legs. We're so we can't even walk. It's a handicap. In dealing with resentments, put it on paper. How about in dealing with anything, put it on paper? Why? You want to shrink it down. It's too big in your head. It's the size of a pyramid in Egypt in your head. If you shrink it down, it's the size of an 8x10 paper. And what are we going to do? We're going to list the people, institution, principles with whom we were angry. Who are you angry with? Column 1. And we'll do this all together. Okay? You're going to ask yourself, why are you angry, Nikki? You're going to put it down in point form in column 2. In most cases, we found it's our self-esteem. These are your only choices. Self-esteem, pocketbook, ambitions, and personal relationships. But Nikki, it affects my big toe. That is your self-esteem. Show your sponsee. This doesn't need to be wordy. These are your choices, including sex. They're hurt or threatened. That's your column 3. It's done for you. These are your choices. So we're sore. We're burnt up. On our grudge list, we, Nikki, set opposite each name of our injuries. So here it is. Is it my self-esteem? Always. Is it my security? Always. I copy and paste column 3. I'm the laziest sponsor you'll meet. Because my daughter says, I used to collect other things. She's like, you collect sponsees, Mom. I'm like, I know. And now I get them all around the world, not just in Toronto. So just copy and paste column 3. But Nikki, that's not deep enough. How deep do you want to go? Your self-esteem, you don't even want to get out of bed. Your security, your ambitions, all your money's gone. Your sex relationships are affected because you don't want to make sweet love to your wife, sir, when you're angry at your boss. You just want to go in the basement and jerk off to porn and get a scotch. Remember those days? We don't do that anymore. Okay. Yeah, all those things have been interfered with, column 3. So what happens here? We're going to go back through our life. I'm busy going back through baby daddy's life. Your life, Nikki, not your prime minister's. Nothing counted but thoroughness and honesty. And get here, everybody. When we're finished, we just consider it. It says, just consider it carefully. It's so simple. I honestly, I just want to strangle people sometimes, and that's where I get angry. Maybe we'll do a resentment live here on the meeting with Nikki. Bad sponsors. Okay, we'll do that. Can you teach page 12, people? That's what you asked your sponsee. Yes. Okay, recap. What did you learn on page 12? Well, Nikki, I learned that I better launch on this course or my step 3 decision won't have any permanent effect. And I learned, Nikki, that I better get spiritually straight because I want a tight ass and I'm never physically going to be okay until my spiritual maladies overcome. You understand how serious this is. Okay. Page 13, everybody. And that's a lucky number. Don't believe the hype. Page 13, we're going to do right now. This top paragraph on page 13 is how you live life every day. I'm going to say key words on here. I hope you listen, highlight it, and circle it. If you live your life on page 13 in these instructions, which I never do, you will have no problems, Nikki. Oh, but I fail all the time. Thank God I don't leave the rooms. Here we are. Every day, Nikki, not just for a 4-step inventory. This is every day. However, we are talking about the 4th step. So when you're doing a 4th step, you put out of your mind the wrongs others have done. Column 2. Just get rid of it. Whatever they did to mess with you and hurt you and wrong you, just get rid of it. And then it says, we, Nikki, resolutely, no half measures, 100% look for your Nikki's mistakes. Column 4. Where had Nikki been selfish, dishonest, self-seeking, and frightened? Column 4. Though a situation had not been entirely Nikki's fault, it says we try, but remember, we talked about being students of Yoda. We do or do not, there is no try. So we, every day, not just for a 4th step, every day we disregard the other person, the other policies, principles, institutions. You mean I got to disregard the government after COVID? Yep. It says entirely, Nikki. It says entirely disregard the government that took your job, that you thought took your rights, but you flew first class on a plane last couple of years ago. So all bullshit. See, Nikki, it doesn't say where are they to blame. It says, where are you to blame? Everybody, let's park it here for 1 minute. Where are you to blame? It does not say what is my part. It doesn't say where is he to blame. It says, where are you to blame? You're to disregard your government, every human on the planet. That's why this is a radical program. See, some of you, I'm looking at you, sir. You have a partner. I know you do. We won't get into personals here. You know, yeah, you. Hope you see me. It's not your partner's fault. It's all you. Yeah, it's all you. You disregard the other person entirely. It's all you, not your part. No part. It says, the inventory is yours. I thought it was my prime minister's. Literally, I got to read this every day because I keep taking the world's inventory. It's not the other person, place, or things, Nikki. When you see your fault, Nikki, your fault, then you put it on paper. You list it. Shrink that shit down. Place it before you in black and white. I can manage an 8x11 piece of paper. I can't manage problems the size of Egypt in my head. We admit our wrongs honestly and are willing to set matters straight. Oh, there it is. A lot of people, you just admit your wrongs and you don't look. See, a lot of people in the rooms fail to look where you can set the matter straight. You're already on step 8 and 9 in step 4. But we're so trained just to look at the problem and get freaked out about step 9. Okay, let's get in here. We're less than an hour. Are you guys looking at the time? Like, you can make headway with your sponsee instead of just sitting there crying and whining about your problems. Okay. That top paragraph, keywords, own mistakes, disregard, other person entirely, you're to blame, inventory ours, my fault, honest, willing, set matters straight. Okay, manifestation number 2, feeling afraid, like feeling scared. This is your fears. We reviewed our fears thoroughly. 5 columns, all 5 columns. You're going to put them on paper, pen to paper. There it is. Shrink it down. Do it for your list. I don't know what to do. Okay, let's start with making your bed. Put that down. Going grocery shopping, buying mom that card, her birthday's coming up. Get your sponsees. We are life coaches here. We're showing each other how to live. We don't know how to live. You know how many sponsees I have that are doctors and therapists, big jobs. You remember, Anonymous is here. We have to be anonymous. But if you guys knew some of the people that we all sponsor, everyone would be like, what? They have a problem? Yeah, they do. This is not easy. We're all living here. So we got to put it down on paper, even though we have no resentment. We're just in fear in connection with them. We asked ourselves, why? Why, Nikki, do you have these fears? Isn't it because self-reliance fails us? Nikki fails Nikki. Self fails self. I'm a log. I'm beyond human aid. This is so spirit world. Our friend Liza's on here. She says, get out of your meat suit. Our co-host Everly tells me all the time, I have gifts because I'll be diagnosed by my doctor with some weird thing and it's a gift. It's a special gift. I'm a superhero, she told me. Thank you, Everly. Manifestation number 3, feeling guilty, the things I've done to people, my harms. We reviewed my conduct. I always think that's my ex's conduct. It's my conduct. All harms, including sex, all harms. Everyone just stops on a sex inventory. The harms to your children, the harms to the grocery store lady, the harms to your government. Hey, you're harmed by omission because you're not getting honest. Over the years, decades past, where have we been selfish, dishonest, and inconsiderate? Let me repeat that again. Where has Nikki been selfish? This is every day, you guys. These are instruction book for life. This isn't one and done. We live here. I'm inconsiderate all the time just by the way I speak and the F-bombs I drop. Whom did we hurt? Whom had we hurt? Column 1. Did we unjustifiably arouse jealousy, suspicion, or bitterness? Column 2. Where are we at fault? It does not say, what is my part? What should Nikki have done instead? There it is, column 5. There's my amends. If your sponsor doesn't have you looking at your amends on step 4, That's what it says. What do we need to do instead? That's page 69 in our big book. Like, think about this. We got to get it all on paper and look at it. Put pen to paper. Step 4 instructions. If we have been thorough. What's thorough? No half measures, not a 5 million page essay. Doesn't take me long to see that I'm selfish and self-centered, especially if you have a good sponsor. It's all done. Your inventory is right there on page 12. And I'm going to give you an inventory that we just looked at when we said our step 3 prayer on page 18 that's even shortened more. You don't need to add anything on or just take anything off. If you want the shortest inventory in the world, 7 deadly sins. Okay, we've written down a lot. Personal inventory, we're going to written down a lot. We've listed, here it is, Virgos. You can analyze all you want here. Obsessive compulsive people, analyze. This is your one chance to analyze your resentments. Nikki, put your name there. We have begun to comprehend. We understand their, column 4, utility and fatality. I will die if I live in my defects. Not if I live in alcohol. That might be slower or faster, but I'm going to die if I live in my defects. We have commenced, which means we have started to see there, column 4, our defects, terrible destructiveness. We have listed the people, column 1, we have hurt by our conduct. And we're willing. Here it is again. That's why everyone's always scared of, they leave the rooms, step 4 and step 9. Why? It's really easy. We're willing to straighten out the past if we can, because we've already looked at it. We already looked at what we should have done to set matters straight. Right here. If you're straighten out the past if we can. If you've already made a step 3 decision, step 3, we made a decision, not just to abandon ourselves to this power, but to be a member. And no one's perfect in here. So stop looking at each other in the rooms and look inside for God. And an inventory, step 4, it's done for you, of your grosser handicaps. If you've been here before and you've done an inventory and you've seen one like, I'm holding up my hands to the camera that's the size of like huge, like the biggest book you could ever imagine. It says grosser handicaps, not every little thing. Grosser, it's a moral, not an action inventory, everyone. Wake yourself up. Then you have made a good beginning. That being so, you have swallowed and digested big chunks of truth about yourself. What are the chunks of truth? Like, we've done our inventory, even though we haven't even put pen to paper. The chunks of truth. I'm selfish. I'm self-centered. I'm driven by fear. I thought I was driven by love. I thought all the whole time, Miss Al-Anon, Nikki M, look how helpful I am. No, you're a hostage taker. You're a martyr. You manage, you manipulate. That's what you do, Nikki. Meanwhile, I think I'm running around like so kind. No, you're stepping on the toes of everybody. Wake yourself up. Okay, here's your little note. And we're on page 13 of our workbook, and then we're just going to jump into it. It is not necessary for newcomers to talk about every resentment or selfish act or each person they have ever lied to or harmed for the inventory to be thorough. The objective is to get to causes and conditions. Sometimes it takes only a few incidents to make clear which shortcomings have kept the newcomer blocked from an intimate two-way relationship with the one who has all power. That is Wally P's Back to Basics book. He also has a wonderful book called How to Listen to God that removed my money obsession. See, the big book says there's also helpful books. Do not suggest any other books to your sponsees until they have this 30-page workbook as a part of their mind. Because I know people, they do this work and then they start picking up back to, Eckhart Tolle, The Power of Now, The Secret. They get back to their old habits, 50 million meetings a day, and they don't sponsor. I've just showed you how to be a sponsor. Until these 30 pages are a working part of your mind, don't even look at another book. And I'm in year 8. I think I've read 2 other books since then, and they're small, easy reading. I'm really lazy. Okay. Can everyone teach this? Now let's dive into it. Okay. Remember, when your sponsees call you, I'm out of my mind, says my sponsee. Did you look at where you're to blame? Did you put out of your mind the wrongs everyone has done? No, you haven't. All I've heard is about him. All I've heard is about her, your boss. Okay. So let's dive deep here. We're on page 14, resentments. Now, if you are in this book, in this workbook, and if you are in the big book, you will see the examples and you'll know how to read it. Column 1, this is Bill W. He's mad at Mr. Brown. Why is he mad? Well, Bill W. is mad at Mr. Brown because he's showing attention to his wife, told his wife about his mistress, blah, 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 may get the job. Okay, this affects, interferes with, there it is. Those are your choices. Your self-esteem, security, always including sex. Well, how is me being mad at Mr. Brown? You're not going to want to make sweet love to your wife if you think someone's stealing your job. You are going to be so obsessed in that thought pattern. Wake your sponsees up. Okay. Now, they have some examples about where am I at fault, column 4, column 5. Okay, so in that little blank spot, everybody, I'm going to do one and you can do your own as we're doing this and you can see how to teach it with your sponsee. Column 1, I'm just going to go for it. I'm going to just be my free self. I'm going to be my authentic self and I'm going to talk about it. We're going to put column 1, I'm mad at bad sponsors. Okay? Why am I angry? They don't follow the instructions. Let me write this down so when I do step 5, I can go back to it. Where am I here? Okay, get your pen and paper out. I'm just speaking it. So I'm mad at bad sponsors. And this changes. Last month, it was, this and that. During COVID, it was Justin Trudeau. Anyway. Oh, one of my amends was not to mention his name out loud. There we go. So column 1, Nikki has bad sponsor. Column 2, point form. Why am I angry? They don't follow the big book. Okay, just point form. Don't follow big book. Okay. Take too much time. Too much time. Dilute the message. Okay, message. Are stupid. They're stupid. Right? Don't do it my way. Okay, just a couple things. And if it's a long thing, fine. Don't do it my way. Do it my way. Okay, that's fine. Column 3. Well, this affects everything. It affects my self-esteem because I'm a sponsor. They should be like me. Affects my security. No one's getting better in the rooms. And I sound like a lunatic when I'm screaming the big book and everyone's just like, keep coming back. It affects my ambitions. I don't want to go to these rooms anymore. I'm sick of being in those fellowships. I'm tired of everybody. It affects my pocketbook because I'm not getting better. I'm stuck in a resentment, so I can't show up happy for work. It affects my relationships because, when I go to Luxembourg, I'm too busy worrying about my fellowship and bad sponsors than paying attention to the man I love. And that has destroyed my relationship. Okay. And I certainly don't want to make sweet love to him because I'm too angry. Too angry. Okay, there we go. So we've done column 1, 2, 3. You can do anybody. Remind your sponsees. It's all going to start to look the same, right? Like same with I'm mad at my family. They don't follow my instructions. They don't spend time with me. It's all the same thing. They don't listen to my message, whatever. They're all stupid. It could be anything in there. Put your government, anything. I put bad sponsorship, whatever it is. Okay. Now, column 4. Remember, we're on page 14 of our workbook. We're only going to use page 18. Column 4. And I literally, if you're super smart and you're my sponsor, you probably just copy and paste because we usually don't even work on camera. If we're in person, we'll write it out. If you're like me and you have a sponsor like Cameron, I just wrote see above, see above, see above. And he said, Nikki, go out and write those words out because I was real lazy. So in column 4, we're not going to use the little examples that Bill has here, which is like that little chart. I only have my sponsees, column 4. We're not even going to use the chart on page 12 of the workbook. We are only going to use the chart that has been laid out on page 18, step 5 on that page. And if you're one of them, you're all of them. And again, where's Cameron? I want him to listen to this back. He didn't mark off greed, but he put down that he's selfish. If you're selfish, you're greedy. You may not want money. You may not want another woman, but you want some attention. And I've seen you, sir. I hope you're listening to this. You want accolades. There we go. God, I'm weird. And he didn't check off envy or covet. Well, you put jealous and you put suspicious and distrust. That means you're and coveting something. If you're one of these, you're all of them. So, Nikki, how do you show up? Where are you at fault? Where are you to blame? What are your mistakes for your resentment for bad sponsors in the rooms? Well, I show up arrogant, self-loathing, false pride. I think I know better than God. I show up rude. Cameron has these big words on here: bigotry, misogyny, misandry. Okay, whatever. I just show up rude to everybody. I show up suspicious. If I'm suspicious, see, if you're one of these things in that column, you're all of them. Just in the column, in the line alone. If you're looking at this workbook, this podcast, you should have page 18 open looking at this as I'm speaking. Column 4, we're on page 14 of our workbook, but we're looking at page 18, column 4 here. Selfish, self-centered, I exaggerate, no one loves me. These are bad sponsors. No, they're not. They're people who are sick, helping free people, Nikki, helping people freely. Like, they're not. There's nothing wrong with these people. You're intolerant, Nikki. You're greedy. You want everyone to be on fire, living in heaven, and that's not the truth. You're lustful. You're wanting more. And I'm not wanting men in the rooms. I'm wanting more better sponsorship in the rooms. You're hating everyone, including yourself. You're lazy, Nikki. You've been here for what, how many years? And you think you know it all? Stay. You're procrastinating. You're impatient. You're afraid of everything. You're irresponsible because you just gave your life to God on step 3, but you're mad at people. Make that make sense. You have immoral thinking, vulgar talk. You gossip and slander about these people. That's the list. Now, Cameron, with his fancy words, has listed a whole bunch of misanthropy and prejudice and unfair bias. All of that is arrogant. All of that is suspicious. If you're one of these things, you're all of these things. Full stop. Copy and paste. That's how you show up for life. For your mom, you're mad at your mom. You're mad at your boyfriend. You're mad at your government. That's how you show up, Nikki. Column 4, copy, paste. Is everyone understanding how simple this resentment is? That's how simple this is. You don't need to add any other words in. You don't got to get fancy in your vocabulary. And you certainly don't need to leave off something like Cameron F. did. Now, when I'm doing it later, when I'm hearing a 5th step, I'll be like, after a while, it's copy, paste. I'll say, what was your biggest character defect? Sponsee. Name top 3. Because it's all the same after a while, right? Give me 3 that really stood out to you for your bad. Well, I'm very arrogant. I think I know better. I gossip and slander a lot. And I guess my dishonesty, my exaggeration, because obviously it's working. It's been around for 80 years. Like, what am I talking about? People don't do it my way. Like, come on, Nikki. You see? Get people to name their, because it's all going to be the same every time. This is your inventory. What are you working on for 4 months? Sponsors and sponsees. This is it. And all of these words are in the big book. And you don't need to add and you don't need to take away. That's it. And then, like, if say I'm hearing it, Cameron left off again, greed. Why did you leave off greed? Why? You're greedy about something here. You want better sponsorship, so you want more. You're greedy. You want more sponsors. You're envying, coveting something. You see, make your sponsee see what they can't see. In this case, I got to make my sponsor see what he can't see. So arrogant. Okay, here we go. Now let's get to column 5. We're still on page 14 of the workbook. And now we're sliding into column 5 where it says, how can I set matters straight? Now, do you see? Go deep. Some of you have been in the rooms for years and you're like, Nikki, I've never seen an inventory done like this. It's only 4 columns because that's in the book, 4 columns. Actually, there's a 5th column right here. How can you set matters straight? If you showed up, Nikki, look at page 18, everybody. We're still on page 14, writing the inventory. But Nikki, if you showed up in this way for this resentment you have, okay, what do you need to do instead? Page 18, column 5, God's will. That's God. I need to get humble. I need to get polite. I need to get content. I need to get unselfish, helpful, honest, accepting, generous, intimate, forgiving, active. You see? All of it. All of it. Now, don't just let your sponsee list these things. I go deep on column 5. Give me 3 action items to set these matters straight. Okay, so for bad sponsorship, what are you going to do, Nikki? Number 1, you're going to praise the good in others. There's one action. So you got to get humble. So why don't you start praising the good in all sponsors because they're giving of their time freely, okay? I can start that. Number 2, give me an action. I'm going to be more accepting of these people. Nikki, you've been saying that for years. Come on. Okay, I'm going to read page 417 every day for a month until I believe it, know it, walk it, talk it. Okay, that's a great action. What else are you going to do, Nikki? When you talk so much stuff about that meeting and all those bad sponsors, you're going to go to that meeting. You are going to share a big book message and you're going to give a $20 seventh. Boom. I'm already in my step 9. I'm already in my amends. And I'm already out of anger because those things are doable. You're not making me as a sponsor go back and find the person I talk shit on and their sponsoring ways and go to rooms. And no, you're not making me do, because that's not helpful. And we'll read more of that in step 9. We'll read the exact instructions in step 9, but that's manageable. See, we're an hour and 12 minutes into step 3 and 4, and we know what to do. Want to do another one real quick? Nikki, who are you angry at? The human race. Why? Column 2, they're idiots. Column 3, it affects everything. Column 4, how did you show up? All of it. Column 5, what do you need to do? I need to get all of those principles. What do you need to do, Nikki? Sponsor. Let people stay in your home that need a place to stay. Not strangers, but people I love if they need a place to stay and not charge them anything. Give them a free place to stay when they come from Egypt. Take them out for dinner. Like, you see how simple this is? Get your sponsees here. I hate all men. Okay, there it is. You're mad at all men. What did they do? You want me to really tell you what they did? Column 2. How did you show up for these men, Nikki? Wow. Praying mantis. Inconsiderate, greedy, lustful. I mean, you name it. I did it, all of it. What do you need to do instead, Nikki? You need to sponsor. You need to make a date with your son, 20 years old, once a month and make dinner together to show him how to be a man. Show him how to cook dinner, Nikki. See, I'm not even on step 9. Done. Can everyone teach that? Fears, everybody. I'll go deep here. God, I love this one. Remember what I said? Let me just pretend I'm talking to you, Habibis. All you Habibis, you're all mine. Okay, here we go. It's just a term of endearment, isn't it? Like my buddies, my friends. Okay, here we go. I love that. Okay. Fears. We are on page 15 of our workbook, of our big book sponsorship workbook guide. Column 1. Who or what are you afraid of? Everybody normally when I sponsor, I've heard a couple things. Mostly, I'm afraid to be alone. I'm afraid he'll leave me. Most of it is fear of rejection, fear of abandonment, fear of being alone, sometimes fear of having no money, my money addicts. But a lot of it is just plain fear of being alone. Okay, let's put it down. I'm afraid. How about me? I haven't been married legally. I'm still waiting for that legal fear. I'll never get married. Okay, put it down. Fear I'll always be alone. Fear I'll never have kids. Whatever it is, whatever your fear is, fear of everything. Column 1. Column 2. Why are you fearful? Put it down. No one loves me. I'm always alone. I have no money. I live in my mom's basement. I weigh 5,000 pounds. I don't have a car. Right? I got brown skin. I've got white skin. Name it. Like, put it down. Why are you afraid of being alone? Why are you afraid that no one's going to love you? Put it down. I've never had a boyfriend. I've never had sex. Put it down. Put it all down on paper. Because I don't spend a lot of time here on fears. We're going to do one and done. So you're afraid of everything. I'm afraid he's going to leave me. I'm afraid my parents are never going to change. I'm afraid my son's going to overdose. Put it down. Why? Put it all down. Column 3. This affects everything in everybody. Of course, that affects your self-esteem. Of course, it affects your security. You're afraid you're going to die. Everyone's going to leave you alone. You don't want to get out of bed. That affects your ambitions. Of course, it affects your pocketbook. You have no money. Or you have fear. You're afraid of getting hurt. Thank you. Afraid of everything. Afraid of loving again because he hurt me and I never want to be hurt again. Of course, that affects your pocketbook. Of course, that affects all your relationships, including sex. So do you see how simple it is? Column 3 is literally copy and paste. It's always going to be, but they're going to add on. It affects my grandmother. That is your relationships. Don't let people get wordy. It's copy and paste. We need to get them through the 12 steps so they can sponsor, because as today we heard on the thing, my sponsee relapsed on step 4. Of course they did. They're not through all 12 steps. They have to be through all 12 steps and working all 12 steps, which is sponsoring. So we got to get them through quick. So here it is. Copy, paste. You're afraid of everything. You're afraid of rejection. You're afraid of getting hurt. You're afraid of everything. Where are you at fault? Where are you to blame? Okay, go deep with your sponsees. Page 18, column 4. Let's go deep. How did you show up? You showed up hating yourself. You showed up arrogant, thinking that this plan that you have for your life is better than God's. You show up rude. I'm not rude to anyone, Nikki. I stay in my basement all day. I'm so kind. That's the problem. That's rude. God made you so special and you hide out all day. You show up suspicious, afraid you're not going to get anything, envying everyone else is married. Everyone else has beautiful long hair and you don't. You're selfish. You show up this way. Get your sponsee to see how they show up for their fears. Now go deeper with me. Sponsee, I love you enough to tell you, you show up here, no one's ever going to want you. So you're going to be alone. See, I'm that kind of sponsor. I love you enough. It says to be honest. No one wants to be around you. You're never going to have a baby. Who the hell's going to make love to you when you show up like this? Who's going to marry you when you show up like this? Who's going to want to be around you? No, you're never going to have money. Look at, you're so greedy. You're so lustful. You're so impatient. You're afraid of everything. You're irresponsible. I love you enough to tell you right now, sponsee, all your fears are coming true, and they're going to come true. You're afraid to die. Well, I'm going to tell you, the only thing I know about you is that you're going to die. Sponsee, you live here. All your fears are coming. He's going to leave you. Your kids are going to hate you when you show up here. Wake yourself up now, sponsee. What should you be doing instead? Because let's go deep here. When Nikki shows up humble, I have too many friends. I'm never alone. When I show up polite, wow. I mean, people love me off. When I show up helpful and honest, kind and loving, he asked me to marry him. Yeah, he did. When I show up that way, he'll take it back real quick when I show up in column 4. This is serious stuff. When I show up here, kind, praising the good in others, responsible, my kids love me. You want to spend more time on your fears? I got 1,000 fears. They're all coming true, sir, madam. You show up so gross. You show up in your defects, smothered in them. They're going to leave you. I love you enough to tell you, go get another sponsor if you don't want to hear it. Go, be gone, be gone, be gone. If you show up in column 5, now this is where I go deep with my sponsees. I was afraid of not having money, but I showed up during COVID in column 5, and my mortgage got paid off when I lost my $100,000 job at Canada's hospital. I had a big mortgage. I live in downtown Toronto. You guys can Google search it. You understand? When I lived in column 4, I didn't have a boyfriend. Now, some days, some of you know my situation. That's always questionable because I slide back there. But when I live in column 5, he wants to be around me. Even my kids do. Even you guys do. I've showed up for a lot of you in column 4, but I know how to get back into column 5. So that's enough on fears. Sponsor, you want to go write all your fears? Go write them. I will only listen to a few because I'm going to tell you, if you show up in column 4 on page 18 and you're one of them, you're all of them, all your fears are coming true. All of them. So what do you want me to tell you? You want to go home and write an essay, or do you want to get through this, live, sponsor, and get miracles like me? Because most of you, if you know me, I get into my naked hot tub every day. That's how I greet my morning. because I come to God like that. Get in there, no problems. Watch the squirrels. They run on the telephone wires. Like, this is a life. Show your sponsee. This is where you can show them the gifts and the promises come true. Okay, enough on fears. That's it. That's it. If your sponsee comes back to you, send them to me. Seriously. Or send them to someone on here. I see Rochelle on here. Send them somewhere. Send them to Liza. Send them to Everly. Send them to Huckmead. Send them somewhere. And we'll tell them, you live in column 4. All of your fears are coming true. No one wants to be around you. Full stop. So you better live in column 5. It's that easy. Harm's done. Let's get there. Page 16, and I do it real simple too. I do it so simple because I want to get you through, and I like to see miracles. So once I'm done with you watching your miracle, I'm on to someone else watching another miracle. And then a lot of them don't get better, so I keep moving on real quick. I'm like, bye, go die. And I don't mean that mean, but that's where we go. We die. Okay. Page 16, harmful conduct, including sex. Column 1, the people that you've hurt, Nikki, the institutions and the principles. Who did you hurt? I make this real simple. Column 1, the entire human race, Nikki. Put it down, column 1. Just make it simple. Put it right there, column 1. You harmed the entire human race. Now, we do this a little different. We jump to column 4. Where am I at fault? Where am I to blame? What are my mistakes? Let's jump there, page 18. For the human race, Nikki, you showed up with false pride, arrogance. You hate yourself. You showed up rude to everyone and yourself. You're suspicious. You're envy. You're selfish. You're self-seeking. You want recognition to be the center of attention. You're dishonest. You exaggerate. You're intolerant. You're inconsiderate. You're greedy. You're lustful. You're hateful. You're angry. You're a sloth. You procrastinate. You're impatient. You're afraid of everything. You're irresponsible. You enable. You blame. You have immoral thinking and walking and talking, vulgar talk, and you vilify and you slander and gossip everyone. There it is. That's how I showed up to harm the human race. All my exes, all your exes, my children, my government. Yeah, I show up like that for my government. I show up that like for everybody. See how simple this is? That's how I show up. Column 3, work it backwards. Remember, you called me with this question today. Baby, yeah, there we go. So you work it backwards. Column 1, who did you hurt? The human race. Column 4, where am I at fault? It doesn't say what is my part, all of it. If you're one of it, bondage of self, character defects, all of it. Copy and paste. Column 3, what did I affect, threaten, hurt, or interfere with about them, the human race? Here it is. I affected my children's self-esteem, security, ambition, pocketbook, relationships, and I affected all men's self-esteem, security, ambition. My work, I sleep with my coworkers that are married. I affect my entire environment at work because I'm powerful in my disease and out of my disease. You see, as good as I am, imagine that set on fire evil. I'm a tornado in the workplace. When I'm in a bad mood, everyone knows it. I affected the entire workplaces. Oh, and they couldn't fire me because I hide behind the union. I'm a shop steward. Self-esteem of everybody. Security of everyone on the team. Ambitions. Pocketbook. No one can make money when Nikki's around. Relationships. No one wants to go home and make love to their sweet partners after spending a day with Nikki at work. You awake? Now, column 2. How did I harm them? What did I unjustifiably arouse? There it is. Remember, this is a moral inventory. I tell you a little bit about my sexcapades or my weirdness and my acting out behaviors just because someone's got to take it for the team. I will. But we don't do that in the rooms. We don't need to tell about how you get hookers and what you do with ladies of the night and with, you understand. We don't need to hear how you go into your fridge and it's locked and what you eat and how you barf. And I don't need to hear those things. How you wake up naked on someone's lawn, not in their hot tub meditating. We're talking naked puking on yourself on someone's lawn. We don't need to hear those stories. It's a moral inventory. So how did you harm them? Drum roll, please. Do. Column 4. That's how I harm them. It's a moral, not what did I do? Why did I do it? We're doing a moral inventory. So how did I harm them? I showed up arrogant, rude, suspicious, envious, selfish, jealous, inconsiderate, greedy, lustful, sloth, hateful, fearful, irresponsible, vulgar, and I'm a big gossip. Now, what did I unjustifiably arouse in them? Aren't we mirrors? Am I not you? I know my son showed up that way when I showed up that way. I know that when I show up that way, my boss shows up that way. I know when I come to any of my God squad on here, and I've mentioned a few of you out by name, you show up like that for me. We're mirror reflections here. This is how simple the 4th step is. I live here. And then when I show up, you reflect it back to me. This is so deep, but we're in here just to stop drinking. We're in here just to stop sleeping with the coworker. We're in here just to lose 100 pounds. No, we're not. We're in here to have a whole new belief system. That's why most won't make it. Because how do I harm them? I show up right here in this, and I liquid shit all over everybody. And then what do? They fling it right back at me. Diarrhea. It's awful. They just fling it right back at me. And I'm like, no, but I want rainbows and butterflies and flowers thrown back at me. And they're like, but Nikki, you're filled with shit. This is it. I mean, we're an hour and a half right now. One more minute will be an hour and a half. That is how you do it. I mean, I could launch right now into the 5th step, but I think we should pause here because that's a lot of information. Never take your sponsee further than this. You've done a 3rd and a 4th step together. You've done the 3rd step. You've launched them into the 4th step. I give my sponsee 1 week. If you've been here and you're like my friend, she was sober. I didn't need to get her off mind-altering substances, but I had to get her off all the other things. I don't even know if we went a week. Sometimes it's just like a couple days because you click so fast. You got it so quick. You're like, yeah, you can teach this. And it clicked. Something clicks that goes, now your new sponsees that have never done it, you may need to do it with them. After 3 or 4, remember what we said on page 13. It's not necessary for the newcomer to talk about every resentment, every fear. You want to talk about every fear? Because we can sit here in that energy, in that low vibration, in that old belief system. Or we can launch you into teaching these steps and you will be reborn. Because all your fears are going to come true. You've harmed the entire human race. And if they have something, I told you again, we'll get into that in the 5th step. Let's do that in the 5th step about childhood trauma, how they can't get over, how the 49-year-old man can't get over how uncle raped him at 7. We're not going to live there or we're going to die. You understand? This is real radical stuff. And this is why if it's not in the book, we don't even talk about it. And I love, as much as I'm picking on Cameron about not checking everything off, if it weren't for Cameron and this method, I don't know if I'd be alive today. Because I was in other watered down messages, other literature, other ways of sponsoring. And yes, line by line through the big book is wonderful. But when you have to get to the solution, which is work with another addict will save the day, and we're beyond human aid, this way of sponsoring works. So your inventory is done. So simple. It's that simple, you guys. Have them do a few, show them. So now back to column 5, harmful conduct. Because remember, I harm the human race. Page 18, I'm always at fault. I'm always to blame. Copy, paste. Column 3, the way I feel is the way you feel. When I affect everything in you, you affect everything in me. This is the spirit world. We're all one. Like, it's really radical. Like we're all one. That's why we die in separation. And so what should I have done instead? Number one, when you harm the human race and you are in 12-step, you sponsor men, women, everybody, regardless of the fellowship, color, race, language. Yes. Muslims, you sponsor Jews. That's where we go here. Radical. Christians, you sponsor everyone. Yoginis, you sponsor religious people. This is radical, everyone. That's how I do, number one, because I remember I'm living in column 5, humility, polite. What else do I need to do? Oh, that's right. I'll see where religious people are right. I'll join a community, Salvation Army, and volunteer and serve the community meal, 200 people every Saturday for the past 4 years. And if I miss a day, like I don't know what to do with my Saturdays anymore. Nikki, you want to hang out on a Saturday? No, I have to serve my community. This is radical because I've harmed the human race. What's the final thing for there? Well, you've harmed the human race. Nikki, Auntie, has no kids. You have 50 nieces and nephews, and she chose you to be the power of attorney. You will dedicate every Tuesday to her until she dies. She's 95 and she's not going anywhere. We had her 85th birthday party. Now it was 95. It's like, woman, her mother lived to be 100. So here, those are 3 action items. You see how simple this is? And that's my step now. When I get to step 9, I'll show you these things. And some of you may have to unmute and remind me what we discussed here. But that's what I do instead. So by sponsoring, you Habibi, I can't help my 20-year-old son, but I can help you. And by sponsoring you, you've helped Egypt. You help your son. You help your wife. See? And now the human race is connected and all is right in the world. So we went through this. It's that simple. Your inventory is done for you. You are either living in column 4 or you're living in column 5. God, column 5. I offer myself to thee, column 4, page 18, to build with me and do with me as you will, column 5. Relieve me, Nikki, of the bondage of self, column 4, every single thing on there, that I may better do your will, column 5, all of them. Take away my difficulties, column 4, all of it. That victory, column 5, may bear witness to those I would help, column 5. That's it. Giving them the inventory, not making them guess, literally holding their hand like a 2-year-old and saying copy and paste. And then like I said, go deeper. If they say, if they're getting it and they get them to give you 3 things, 3 big ticket, like say something like, how did you show up for your family? Like selfish. It's always going to be on there because that's the root of our trouble. You showed up dishonest and maybe greedy, and then show them. See, it shouldn't take that long because it says it very clearly in the book on page 7, show. Doesn't say tell them, show them how they are. Like, didn't I just show you? I look at it. It's written out there for, if it were Cameron right there, he didn't mark off greed. And I would say, why? Cameron, why didn't you mark off greed? Because being selfish, you're greedy. Selfish and greed is the same thing. Make it make sense. It's copy and paste. That's why I do it with them real quick, because I'm showing you this is who you are. We don't get to be perfect anymore. Only God. We said it today. Don't use that word. Only use the word progress. You're me, I'm you. We are the same person. We are exactly the same. We need to follow these instructions. Very simple. I love you guys.